Hello and welcome to On the Other Hoof. You join us ahead of one of the best weekends of the flat racing calendar. We have good racing from Ascot that featured the San Marla Group 2, where Arod takes on Lightning Spear. Tormore, unfortunately, a non-runner there. We also have good racing at York, which features the John Smith's Cup, and also a very good 5 furlong race, which we'll be getting into later, the City Wall Stakes, a listed event, and as if that wasn't enough action for you, we've got Newmarket with the Group 1 July Cup, and also the Bunbury Cup as well, which is sure to throw up, well, hopefully a big priced winner. We'll be going through all of that in a little while, but I can't do that all on my own, and as normal, I am joined by Adam Webb and Callum Adele from Timeform. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Excited about tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's a sarcastic yeah from Callum or just a yeah.
There's too much racing. I'm looking
Too much
forward to
racing.
it, but there's too much racing. There's too many bets to have, and there's too big a chance of me losing a lot of money.
And that happens most weekends with me, so I've got no complaints. It's just business as usual for me. Adam, you're the only one of us not going racing tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm having a day at home. I've had a lot of days at home, so yeah.
Well, I'm going to York. Callum's going to Newmarket. You have to go to Ascot.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not going. I'm not going anywhere tomorrow. So.
Sure, why not? Naps last week. How did we get on?
I don't remember. How did I nap last week? Well, that tells you how good the nap was last week, because it must not have won if I don't remember it.
I'm not overly sure. Mine was amazing. It was only me and you last week, wasn't it, Adam?
Yeah, it was. What did I nap? I don't know.
Well, we had a shocker, I think. I don't remember one winner I took.
I'm just getting the document. I'm just finding the document now, because I will have updated it. I don't know. It must have been bad, because I remember the winners, but I don't remember the losers, unless they were really, really bad losers. Oh no, it didn't update. No, we don't know.
Thank you for that. But we digress. As always here at On the Other Hoof, you can tweet into us live during the show if you're watching right now. If you're watching later on YouTube, you can comment in the comment section below, and we'll try and get back to you in next week's show. But as for now, you can tweet us at On the Other Hoof any questions or fancies that you may have for tomorrow's racing, even Sunday's racing. There's some good action this weekend, all throughout it, really. Then we will answer every single question and read out every single fancy and give our views on it at the end of the show to the best of our ability, as always here on the Other Hoof. But we have 10 races to cover, so it's about time we got started with the 145 from York, the John Smith's Racing Handicap, over a mile, 20 runners to get our way through here. Adam, I'm going to throw you to the birds first.
Oh, thank you. It's a very competitive handicap, and there's a couple in here at prices that I like. But I'll start nearer the head of the market. Bassettine was a useful 2-year-old last year for Richard Hannon, and he comes in here not having had a run yet this season, and he could potentially still be very well handicapped, but first time out in a very competitive handicap, I'm keen to avoid him, even though he's got some of the best form in the race. You're fired. The ground was getting quick enough today at York, and I think there will be some doubts about whether he runs or not, but if he did run, I think he'd have a big chance. Birdman has been a real improver this year since joining David O'Mara, and he won really nicely on soft ground at Haydock last time out, which was a slight concern for me beforehand, but he handled softer ground fine, and he'll go on the split of ground. The two I like Off Art. He's been frustrating to say the least so far this season, but first time blinkers may just be the key to him. And Montraz, who we haven't seen since the Dubai Carnival in 2014, but he's gone well fresh in the past, and he's got a £7 claimer on, so if he's ready first time out, I think he could go really well. So the two I'm going to put up Off Art and Montraz.
It's interesting. I'm also with Off Art. He ran a pretty good race here, I think 3 runs ago, for pound higher mark. He's interesting. He's blinkered first time as well. Tommy's taken the ride. I think 16 to 1's a fair enough price about Off Art. So unfortunately, Adam, I'm agreeing with you on that front, which pretty much puts the knockers on Off Art. If your fired runs, then he'd have to have his chance. However, as Adam said, the ground would potentially be getting a little bit fast for your fired. It was too fast for him in the Hunt Cup, and he's been a non-runner in a few places. I think Sandown last week was his latest non-runner appearance on the race card. But if he does run, he'd have to have his chance. Graham Lee back on board. Around 11 to 1, I think, is a fair enough price. He should have won here 2 outings ago at York when he just got going a little bit too late, to be honest. He was very tenderly ridden throughout. We seemed to find his passage well enough through horses, but as mentioned, just got going a little bit too late. I'd side with Offa at 16-1. It's a very competitive handicap. I can see Gabriel's Kaka going well also. However, I've always been one that thought that he wanted softer ground. Faster ground hasn't held him back in the past, but on this faster surface, he may just be a bit vulnerable, and also he isn't in the best form either this time around. However, he is very well handicapped going forward, off a mark of 92. But I'm siding with Offa at a bigger price. It's not really a race that I'll be getting too involved with, though. Callum, can we make it a treble for Offa?
Yeah, you always go in with that angle, like the last one when you both gone the same selections, and I'm not going for Offa. I just don't think he's good enough, to be honest. Unless the blinkers bring out a bit more, I just think he's well beaten in that Alfred Hutchinson handicap over course and distance. You're just going to have to hope that the blinkers are going to bring out more. I can understand it's a decent price, but I think it's a good race. I think it's better than that Alfred Hutchinson race as well. I can fully understand why Mercedes is fab. One of his last two was pretty impressive when beating Jacob Black at Newmarket, a really rock-solid handicap of Jacob Black, and the forming behind that is worked out a treat. Express himself, I think, was third. Master of the World's won since. It's a really strong race, and he won it well. He doesn't go about his races as the most straightforward horse. He does look a bit, he does hang a bit, and his head's a bit awkward, but he's doing nothing wrong, so I can see him making a bold bid. Bassatine is an interesting one. It's not really a Hannon thing to put him in a big 3-year-old handicap, older horse handicap as a 3-year-old like this. It's a strange move. Your fighter will be interested if there is a bit of rain tonight. I think if it's good, decent ground, I think he'll run a big race. It was just way too quick from Ascot. It's not going to be that quick here. So I think he can run well. And I think the other Godolphin horse is quite interesting. Strong Chemistry, the other 3-year-old who his second at Newbury behind Desert Force was a really good run. He went up £9 for it, which is a bit harsh, but last time he just pulled his head off really at Doncaster, so the hood's on, which I can understand. He might do it again tomorrow, to be honest, stepping back up to a mile, but he was a nice enough 2-year-old as well. He was tried in group company, so I think he could end up being maybe something like a 110 horse, so 104 could be a decent enough mark, so I think he's got a chance at a price considering he went off 2s last time. I think the Fab is very, very solid, and if there's a bit of rain about, I will back your fight.
Yeah, I have just checked the weather forecast, Callum, and it's bad news. There's no rain forecast in the York area.
Well,
it's overcast.
There's a little bit of rain overnight when I looked.
The forecast I have just looked at hasn't got any rain, but
the forecast is wrong.
Your forecast doesn't meet my demands. Your one is therefore wrong.
BBC Weather York, and it's light drizzle from 1 till 3.
Well, I'll hope that one's right instead of the one I'm looking at.
I think, to be honest, the ground was good, probably bordering on good to firm. It's not quick, but it's with another dry day, it would be good to firm.
Yeah,
it goes on
it's like you say, it won't be as fast as it was at Ascot. That was very, very quick.
That was just too quick.
Yeah. And there's no problems with that. That's our first race from York covered, though. We're off down to Newmarket now for the 2 o'clock. The Bet365 mile, a handicap, ironically, run over a mile. 12 horses go to post here, Adam, and an unexposed horse slightly near the top of the market with Western Reserve for Lady Cecil and an interesting jockey booking as well with Pat Smullen.
Yeah, we talked about him the other week when he was second behind Awesome Power at Sandown, and he comes back in trip, which I think will be of benefit to him. And of those nearer to the top of the market, I think he's the one to beat. Oracolo has been impressive enough on his last 2 starts at Doncaster, but being held up at Newmarket this week hasn't exactly been the best place to be. But then again, with how it's been, you never know with Newmarket, because on Thursday it looked like a front runner's track. Today was less so, but I think making ground from the right far back is not going to be the way to go tomorrow. 2 I do like. Well, in fact, I'll say 1. Snow AO is a huge price. I think the step back to a mile and the step back into Handicap Company is a real plus for me. I mean, he was disappointing last time out behind Peacock, but I just think the step back to a mile in Handicap Company, and he has come down a couple of pounds for that, even though it was a listed race. I just think he's very interested, and he is overpriced. So I'm going to go with Snow AO each way at a very big price. So, yeah.
Just say that horse's name again, Value
No,
Rater.
I can't pronounce it. Shut up.
Milano.
Darn it.
Noano.
Shut
No,
up.
no.
Shut up.
It's not a hard one to get, mate.
Shut up.
I'm going to side with Western Reserve, who, as Adam mentioned, was behind Awesome Power last time. I know Callum fancied Awesome Power in the handicap earlier on this week on the July course. It was just a horrible race for Awesome Power to try and frank that form. Resonant went a little bit faster, and then ended by going even faster than that out in front. It was an awesome display. Just nothing got into the race at all. He was well beaten, but I do think he is better than that. And Western Reserve on his handicap debut on that occasion ran a fantastic race, just finding that one too good. Off a mark of 93, I'd still say he's fairly well handicapped. He looks a very unexposed horse anyway against horses that we've seen quite a bit more of, including Snoano that Adam mentioned. Of the rest at bigger prices, I've been following Great Park for a while. He finally got his win last time out. He's been travelling around quite a bit, but if Great Park could take another step forward down near the bottom of the handicap, he's one that could potentially go forward for the Martin Mead yard, who are having a fantastic season so far. They had Curland this afternoon. He didn't quite live up to expectations, but if Great Park can put his best foot forward and still continue that improvement, then you'd imagine he wouldn't be too far away. But for win purposes, I'd be siding with Western Reserve. I think 5-1 could be a decent price for a horse that we definitely haven't, in my mind, seen the best of his capabilities so far. Callum, this is the kind of race that I imagine you're going to absolutely love tomorrow.
Yeah, I do like this race. Western Reserve, I was just a little... Do you think he wants to step back to a mile?
I'd say I wouldn't say it's a negative. I think he just met one that has a better turn of foot last time. If he can get to the front and try and grind it out, then I'd say that would suit him more.
Yeah, I can see the point. I liked him when he won at Chelmsford. I did really like him. I thought he was the potential improver in handicaps. I just think he's kind of bred to want a little bit further. His optimum trip will be 1.25 miles. The other not stout horse, the Abdullah horse, Quick Defence, was an eye catcher in the Britannia on the wrong side and finished 7th and absolutely flew home. But he's got Ted Durkin on tomorrow, which is an instant negative for me personally. Don't laugh. I'm just not quite sure if a mark of 90 is all that lenient. The one I do like, and he is favourite, but I've been so impressed with Oracolo the last twice at Doncaster. He's absolutely bolted up. The last one at Donny against Azraf, he just came out absolutely swinging, went on with minimal fuss. He's got Spencer on tomorrow. He's gone up £11, but he could be a group horse. He really could be, because he's just been making a mockery of his last 2 marks, and he's rapidly improving. He's got his ground tomorrow. There's a good bit of pace on. I think he's got a really, really good chance, or at least a favourite's chance. One at a price, I think I was quite taken by Them and Us when he won at Newmarket last time. He reverted back to reverted to hold up tactics for the first time, and they really suited. And he came there travelling really well. Didn't do much in front, only in the end won by a neck. But I think the horse that he beat, Use Your Filbert, is a decent enough horse for all he's been beaten since. And the form, this is a much, much better race. But he's only gone up £5 because he won by a neck. So I think there's more to come from him. So be interested in him around 12-1. But Oracolo, I think, will be a bet for me, and I think he's has got a really good chance of this.
A question I wanted to put to you about Quick Defence, Callum, that you mentioned a bit earlier on. Do you think that he's a bit of a thinker, that he's got a little bit of something about him? He was beaten by Putting Green at Lingford, I think it was. Then he was beaten by Subcontinent at Windsor, and both times he looked as if he should have won. He travelled into the race the best, but he didn't really go through with it. He won his maiden, but if he didn't win that, then you'd have been really disappointed. And like you say, he ran well in the Britannia last time, but coming into a race like this, I'd have that on my mind personally.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree at all, and I think ideally he probably wants 1.25 miles as well, because he's certainly bred for it. He's got a couple of temperamental / ungenuine horses in his pedigree, so I wouldn't disagree at all with that. He's a horse that after that run I thought, I do want to keep him on side, and then you get to the race and you think, there's a few things that put me off him, and in particular the jockey.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to put to you. This is a huge positive, Ted Durkin, from who rode him last time in Joel Rosario.
Yeah, potentially. I don't know if
That's
there's a
one of
cocky
the.
uplift on here.
In fairness, Ahmed Al Sabusi would be an uplift on that, but I'm, I'm
Oh,
not Giorgio's biggest fan, I have to say. But move on before we get told off for anything. The 210 at Ascot, the first visit to Ascot, as well as the Tote Scoop Sticks Heritage Handicap, over 5 furlongs, 18 runners this time, Adam. It's an absolute minefield of a race, but it features a horse that I think we all quite liked at Royal Ascot for the Wokingham in Gameson. I'm sure I'm about to get quite a bit of abuse about.
yeah, we all liked Gameson for the Wokingham. He caught my eye at Newmarket in the handicap before he ran in the Wokingham, and Luke was like, "Oh, he's my horse. He's been my horse for a long time." Anyway, he ran all right in the Wokingham, and he ran okay at Windsor last time out. But I've just got the suspicion. I think me and Callum both agree now that we think he's also a bit of a thinker. And first-time blinkers is an interesting move to go with him, but he's not one I like tomorrow. I actually like the favourite, Discussion to Follow, who won this race last year after marking 92, and the second last time at the Rockingham. His only attempts at 5 furlongs. I think 5 furlongs really suits him well, and he's a horse that's been really consistent, and I can see him winning this race again. I really like this horse. I've got to mention Barnet Fair. This looks like a real plan for him, and this is a really good race to go for with him. Ed Greatrex claim 7, which I think is just a really eye-catching booking. And if he's not winning tomorrow, he'll be there or thereabouts before going on further in the summer. We say this every time he runs now, that we aim for these races around this time towards 2 weeks' time at Ascot or at Goodwood. So he'll be running well tomorrow. And I thought Robot Boy shaped well in the King's Stand, and Rob Hornby claiming 5. That's a no negative on him. So Discussion to Follow for me is the one to beat.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring one thing up about Discussion to Follow, and it might not be anything, but last time at the Curragh when he was second behind Foxy Forever, I noted that Foxy Forever was playing up down at the start, and he got in front of the stalls somehow. Everything in the field, bar Foxy Forever, so 20 other runners, was left standing in the stalls for 2 minutes, which for a 5 furlong sprinter is an absolute disaster, really. Foxy Forever was last into the stalls. He was in there for 10 seconds maximum, let them go, and he won by 2 1/4 lengths. Now, Discussion to Follow has gone up £3 for that effort, which could be viewed as a little bit harsh for all that he did run pretty well. I'd just be a little bit wary tomorrow.
I'm fine with him tomorrow. That is a factor that I didn't really think of until you just mentioned it. I do recall it because the horse came out in front of the stalls, walked round, they walked him in, and he won the race up forever. But I just think the Discussion to Follow is just one of these horses that really enjoys big field handicaps.
Yeah.
And his mark, I think he can still win off 100. So he's a really nice horse. So yeah, I think he's the one to beat here tomorrow.
Yeah, you can expect to find Discussion to Follow travelling into the race really strongly. I'm siding with 2, one more so than the other. I'll say Barnet Fair first. I think he's just about coming to hand now. I do think 5 furlongs is sharp enough for him, for all that he is a course and distance winner twice. I just feel at the age of 7 he's just losing half a yard of pace. He'd be one that I'd be looking forward towards maybe the Stewards Cup consolation race once more. A fairly easy 6 furlongs at Goodwood I think would be perfect for Barnet Fair. But as Adam mentioned, Ed Greatrex claiming £7 off his back is a massive positive in most people's eye. I'd say, but Gameson is the one that I'm going to side with once more. After the Wokingham, I said that he needs to just drop down to 5 furlongs. He was far too keen throughout the whole race. And again at Windsor, he was very headstrong. Again, I'm not overly sure why blinkers have been fitted, but fair enough. I think...
Stop it. Go on.
No, guys, no. Bad on the other hoofers. Bad.
No, certainly.
I just feel that dropping him back to 5 furlongs will be the making of him. He's a much better horse than the mark of 99 suggests. He ran well enough in the Wokingham. He ran well at Windsor last time. He just hit the front a long, long way out, and he doesn't really do a great deal in front, I think, is my suspicion. But Huntsman's Close beat him that day. I think Huntsman's Close is actually running in the July Cup as well. So he's a horse that they think quite a bit of. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of form plays out. But dropping down to 5 furlongs, I really think will be the making of Gameson. And about 9 to 1 was the best price I saw about half an hour ago. I think that could be a fair enough price in what looks to be a hot race indeed. Callum Medell is not with Gameson whatsoever, though. Callum, who are you with?
No, That's not true. That's not true.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Sorry. I've taken
I'm
so
not.
much abuse for this. I'm
No,
throwing you
no.
for the hounds now.
Yeah, because it winds you up. Look, he's consistent. The blinkers could bring out more because I do think when he gets to the real heat of the battle, he doesn't put it all in personally. And the blinkers might change that. I can see 5 furlongs potentially suiting. He's got the speed for it. So I think tomorrow is really last chance saloon for that horse. I mean, he'll have no excuses tomorrow, surely. I like Barnet Fair. I think this has been the plan for all season. I think every year he's plotted for at least one handicap. It more or less comes up for him. He's a horse I think needs 5.5 furlongs kind of trip. So you either want a stiff 5 furlong test or a sharp 6 furlong test. He got it at Goodwood last year. He's won twice over course and distance, twice valuable events. Eddie Greatrick's taking off 7, a lot of pace on tomorrow. I think it'll be set up perfectly for him personally. So he's a relatively strong fancy in the race. But there's lots to consider. Discussion to follow. Obviously, last year's winner off £8 lower. He's arguably improved since. Thought it was a decent enough run at the Curragh when I backed him. He had no excuses behind Foxy Forever. Double Up likewise had little excuses behind Humidor last time, but you know he could potentially still be well treated. A bit disappointed he couldn't win that, though. I mean, you know, he had no excuses. He went off 5-4. Maybe he's just, you know, finished his tether for a while. But you know, he's only a 4-year-old, relatively lightly raced. There's lots to consider. It's going to be strongly run. I think something from is going to come late, and I think Barnet Fair ticks all the boxes.
Yeah, it's a very competitive race, whatever angle you look at it. Another competitive race coming up from York, though, the 220, the John Smith's Silver Cup, a listed handicap over 1.6 mile. And Callum, I'm going to start with you this time, because I believe that Astronoreus was a horse that you put up as a horse to follow this season.
I did, I think.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Yeah, I had him down as a soft ground horse, and I still do, to be honest. I still do think because he's gone so well on soft ground before that, you know, he'll have an advantage against other horses that don't particularly handle it. But he does go on anything. He won a rattling fast ground at Newmarket. He ran a cracker in the Duke of Edinburgh. The trip, as for all it looks like it'll suit, he's not necessarily bred for it. So I do prefer others, to be perfectly honest. And for all it, you know, it's a handicap at the end of the day. He might need a little bit of improvement as well. Montali up in trip. I thought he ran a good race at Epsom. Finishing late, it's not the kind of track he really wants. A more galloping track like this will really help him. So I can certainly see him going well. For all I'm not fully convinced he's yet to prove he properly sees out this trip potentially. And if he's wrong, he hasn't really proven that he stays over further than 12 furlongs yet. But he shapes as if it'll suit. Famous Kid, I think, is the one for me. Thought he ran a really eye-catching race at Ascot in the same race behind Astronoreus, where he took quite a keen hold early on. I think he'll be a lot better for that personally. Up into 1.75 miles is his trip, which he won at Meydan when he beat Azima in a good little handicap at Meydan. Yeah, I think tomorrow's perfect for him, so he's the one for me in this. But it's usually quite a small field, and it's quite a big one this year, so there's quite a few to consider. But I think the market generally has it spot on. Famous Kid's come in a couple of points already, but 11-2, I think, is going to be my selection at that price.
I think, well, in my view, the two that are now at the top of the weights with Arad coming out, other two to focus on. I still don't want to give up with Wakia. He ran awfully last time. He's never travelled at all. That was first time cheek pieces, which interestingly, they've taken off this time. It could just be that he didn't face up to those whatsoever. 16-1, I still feel could be a big enough price about Wakia. Saying that, you are coming off the back of a dismal effort last time out at York. That was 42 days ago. Before that, he was in fantastic form. He was fourth in the Cigaro behind Mizu and Von der Force, which is decent enough form to bring into a handicap like this. I think he's a strong enough stayer as well. So if he does return to that kind of form, then Wakia could be overpriced at 16-1. However, you will have to forgive that last run completely. And Famous Kid, Callum, I agree with you. He didn't get a clear run late on in the day. He wouldn't have won at Ascot last time out, but he was hampered slightly late on. James McDonald takes the ride as well in the Godolphin colours, which has had a varied success over the past few weeks in. I think 92 is a fair enough price for that Famous Kid, who again brings a decent level of form into this race, but there's a few question marks that could be held over a few of the others, which one of them I have tipped up. I have to take that into account. But Famous Kid, probably the most likely winner. I'd say Wakia's each way value, just one to watch anyway, for future purpose. Adam, we haven't come to you. We've done it in reverse order this time.
Yeah, I've undernard about this race because I do like the top two in the market. Astronorus is a horse that I've got in mind for the Ebor, so I want to see him running well over this trip. If he's a non-stayer here, I'll be looking at races at 1.5 miles for him. But of the pair, Famous Kid appeals more. I mean, I said beforehand I thought it would be Astronorus' race, but having thought about it more, Famous Kid was unlucky to an extent at Royal Ascot because he was hampered with about a furlong to go, and James Doyle kind of looked after him in the final furlong. He was still going for the line, but he was half looking after him for potentially a race like this. And this is a type of track that will suit him really well, having won out in Maidan over the same distance. So I think Famous Kid is the one to beat. I will mention Montale. I think he wants softer ground personally. Maybe, I'm not sure about the trip. I think the trip shouldn't be a problem, but I just think he wants softer ground. So Famous Kid is the one to beat. I would like to see Astronorus run well with regards to Ebor.
Yeah, it's nice when we all agree on one. It makes the show's flow much easier. We can all be wrong together, horrifically wrong, as well. Back down to Newmarket, without further ado, for the 235, the Bet365 Superlative Stakes, Group 2, over 7 furlongs, and this has a bit of a question mark over this race, because Air Vice Marshal, who does head the market at the moment for Aidan O'Brien, is scheduled to be ridden by Ryan Moore. Of course, we know that Ryan Moore isn't riding at the July Festival anymore at Newmarket. So it'll be interesting to see who steps in. Joseph O'Brien is at Newmarket tomorrow, so potentially Joseph O'Brien could ride Air Vice Marshal. But he looks to be a horse, Adam, that seems to be one that will improve with time. He has some decent form in his maiden first time up. He won last time out, albeit at 1-4. However, he does look a horse that's going in the right direction.
I think Joseph O'Brien will ride him. I mean, Ryan was obviously booked, and Joseph knows him. He's ridden him in both of his starts to date, and he won really easily last time out. And if he can reproduce that, I think he is the one to beat. There are one or two in here that I do like for the future. War Department was unlucky in the Coventry. He won nicely first time out at Leicester, and he looks a colt that could really go forward next year. And he'll be one that I'll be keeping in mind for then. And the other one I want to keep in mind is Hayaf, who was second last time out at Haydock in a novice race. And he just looks a type that will progress as he gets older. So I'm going to go with Air Vice Marshal as the one to beat. It's not the strongest 2-year-old race we've seen this week, but I think he should be too good for these at this stage.
Yeah, it's probably not a race that I'm going to be having a bet in, especially until we find out who's riding Air Vice Marshal. Though I don't think there'll be too many surprises in regards to that. I think it will be Joseph O'Brien, as you mentioned, Adam. But Air Vice Marshal is a horse that I really quite liked on debut. He just looked as if he was too green, really. He was a very expensive purchase for Aidan O'Brien. He ran third on that occasion behind Rockaway Valley. He's a decent horse in his own right. He didn't fire last time out, but he is much better than that. He probably didn't have to improve to win at 1-4 last time out at Gorham Park. But stepping up in class markedly here, I still think Air Vice Marshal's got a hell of a lot more to give. It may even be better next year as well. But at 11-4 at the head of the market, I'd still be willing to side with him. Birchwood's an interesting one. I know it's one that Callum quite likes, so we'll let him talk about Birchwood. Is it not?
No.
Not for the oh no, it's not. I'm completely mixing horses up. Sorry. Birchwood is not one that Callum likes. I'm thinking of a completely different horse altogether. You could have just said that you like Birchwood, but I'd say Birchwood. Callum actually is Birchwood's biggest fan. Not a lot of people know this, and it might come as a surprise to him as well, actually. But 9-1, I still don't think Birchwood would be out of it. A rare Godolphin runner for Richard Fye. He was beaten by Argentero last time, and I think that actually is a horse that Callum does like.
Yes.
Got there. I knew I'd get there eventually. He was beaten 3 3/3 legs, last time by Argentero, which is decent form to bring into this race. Stepping up to 7 furlongs, I think, will suit Birchwood. So at 9-1, I can see him going well for each way purposes. But Air Vice Marshal will be the one that I take for the outright market. Now, Callum, we discovered that you're not a huge fan of Birchwood. Who are you a fan of?
It's all about Birchwood, this race. No, look, I can fully understand. It's not. I'll put it out there first of all. It's not a race I have a strong opinion of, apart from the fact that I don't think it's all that good. At the moment, all the juveniles seem to be beating each other. There's nothing standing out at this stage. I don't think anything else will do that in this race. Look, Vice Marshall was impressive last time. Frawley was 1-4. I thought he won really well there. I thought he looked a potential group horse, and I can fully understand him as favourite. I think he's definitely the one to beat. War Department was a very impressive winner at Leicester. You can completely scrap his Ascot run, as I'm sure you mentioned. So, again, I think he deserves to be second favourite, and the rest either have got to improve a fair bit or probably don't really look up to group standard at the moment. So, I think the value bet is, if you want one, is War Department, but I do think the O'Brien horse will probably win. For all, I'd like to see who rides it first.
Yeah, War Department very unlucky in the Coventry at Ascot last time. It got broadsided at a fairly crucial moment and was looked after from there on in. But it's time for our final visit to Ascot for the day, and only our second visit as well on the whole afternoon. The Fred Cowley MBE Memorial Summer Mile Stakes, a Group 2 over 1 mile. 9 runners here, and a surprise runner that was a horrible surprise to myself and Callum in Lightning Spear, who me and Callum had. This is a horrible after-time as well. It's a poor after-time. We had him at 16-1 for the John Smith's Cup. He was also engaged in the Bunbury Cup. He was also engaged in, I think, our opening handicap at York as well. So he had plenty of options, but with a mark of 104, Ollie Stevens and Qatar Racing have decided to come for this Group 2, which is interesting in its own right, because they have got Arod as well at the head of the market, Callum, and Arod is one that you quite like for the afternoon.
I think Arod's a really good bet in this, to be honest. For all, I think Lightning Spear is a very good horse. I think he's potentially group class. I just think it's the most moronic pieces of placement I've seen for a long time in Lightning Spear. First of all, he'd be in both handicaps off lower marks than what he's officially got, because he was only running off penalties. He's running in a much tougher race than what he would have run in handicaps. And they've also already got a horse that's probably definitely better at this stage at least, in A-Rod, in the same connections. I just think it's the most moronic decision. I think A-Rod has done nothing wrong. I think he got a bit of a reputation for some reason last year, that he wasn't all straightforward, but they're trying to make him a Derby horse, and he just wasn't. He was pulling his head off in a Windsor Maiden when he was still winning by 5 lengths, but he's finished second to the Great Gatsby. He's run a belter in the Derby, only beaten 8 lengths to Australia. He then won at Leicester. His York run, he was too keen, and then since then he's run 3 belters this year. He's losing nothing to French Navy, who on his day is a really good horse. He's run an absolute screamer in the Lockinge, beating a length, and he won very impressively at Epsom last time. It's just a horse that should be on form, a 6-4 shot for me, and he's 5-2, so I think he's a brilliant bet in this race. He's got his ground, he's versatile tactics-wise, and the only danger for me is Lightning Spear. If he's good enough, then he could easily beat him, but he's got to improve a fair bit, and he's 4-1, whereas A-Rod is 5-2 and the proven horse, and could actually improve even more, because he's not that light, and not that still quite lightly raced. So I think A-Rod's a smashing bet in this. He's probably going to be my nap of the day, and I would recommend you backing him, but I'm sure you two are going to say otherwise.
Well, before that, we probably should have mentioned that Tormore is an on-runner here as well, which has played havoc with the market, because Tormore I think he was actually favourite before he came out.
Yeah.
As well, over Arod as well. I've tried to make so many different form lines with Arod of why they're running 2 horses here, being Qatar Racing. I thought, well, are they not that confident in Arod's for Saturday that they want to put Lightning Spear in to win the Group 2, but then Andrea Zaney's taken the ride on Arod, Oisin Murphy on Lightning Spear, which, yeah, he rode him last time, but does Andrea Zaney ride Arod, so I've completely thrown that out the window, and you have to accept, as Callum mentioned, at this moment in time, Arod is a much better animal than Lightning Spear. It's very odd placement to bring him when he would be very well in the John Smith's Cup, the Bunbury Cup as well. If a mark of 104, if he does win tomorrow, then fair enough, but it's a bit of a risk. He could come second or third and still go up in handicap if he finishes close enough to Arod. So it's interesting placement, but he is a horse that I very much like. Would I recommend backing him at 4-1 in a race like this? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I think Arod, for all that I love Lightning Spear, I think Arod is the most likely winner. Saying that, for the future, I'd take Lightning Spear to go forward with, if that makes sense. I think it is between those two. You've got a few horses that on their day are very good horses, none more so than Muharib. Wannabe Yours is becoming a bit disappointing now, in all honesty. So I do think it's between the two Qatar racing horses with Arod and Lightning Spear. I don't want to put a selection up.
You've got to.
Heart says Lightning Spear, head says Arod, I'd say.
Why not put him in a forecast then? Or a
well, they
reverse
are the
forecast?
first two home, I've no doubt about that.
Put him in a reverse forecast then?
Yeah,
Either
well, I think
way.
we're all going to agree that it's a reverse forecast, right?
No, I'm not.
Well, Adam, you're wrong.
I know.
But it is a reverse forecast with Arod and Lightning Spear. I do really like Lightning Spear, but at the prices, I just cannot put him forward as a bet. It's a really, really poor price. But Arod, probably the most likely winner. Instead of putting up a win-only selection, I will put up a reverse forecast with Arod and Lightning Spear and see what way round they come in. But Adam disagrees and goes for something else.
Well, I don't disagree with Arod. I think Arod is the clear one to beat on form. Just before I talk about this, I think it's a bit of a disgrace that Tormore's allowed to be a non-runner without a particular valid reason. Why enter him to then pull him out today and go, oh, we weighed it up and we're going to go to Goodwood with him without any valid excuse in the media? So it's a bit of a disappointment, I think it's wrong that he's been pulled out without a valid reason. Lightning Spear, as good as he's looked, and it's not me taking him on because I think he's not good enough. I think he is good enough, but I'd rather him had run in another handicap just with that mark, and he's got to improve at least £10 here. I mean, he could easily, but he's bumping into real solid Group 2 horses. A-Rod was so impressive at Epsom last time out. If you watch him come around Tatton Corner, it's quite scary actually at how easily he made it look. And I hope he front runs again tomorrow, because from the front I think he could be very dangerous, poach an advantage and just kick for home. The two dangers, I think Cable Bay is a definite danger. I mean, he won last time out over 7 at Haydock, and I think 7 furlongs a mile there his trip, so I think he'll be okay tomorrow. And on his day, Muharib is a very talented horse, and if he puts it all in, I can see him being a danger. But I just think A-Rod will be too good for these. I would like to see him Spear run really well, but I don't think he'll be good enough tomorrow. In future, he will. We have lost Callum, so...
Oh, lost Callum. I didn't even notice.
Jeremy Clarkson came up as well when he went as well.
George. He's, Callum. Callum Adele, gentlemen. I'm just so disappointed that Lightning Spear's not running in the John Smith's Cup, to be honest.
Fair enough. Well, I'm disappointed he's not running in a handicap. He could have run in any of those handicaps. I can say the reason that there's one silly little reason I'm thinking of why he may be here. Gameson's here as well, so it saves 2 trips going to separate places. I know it sounds a stupid reason, but...
Yeah, but Ollie Stevens has got Heisman as well, so...
Yeah, send them all together. Why not? They're all off on the day out.
Take the bigger horse box instead. I'd be surprised. I don't think it would be Ollie Stevens' decision as well either, to be honest. It doesn't seem like it was. It seems like more of a money-orientated decision. Callum's back! Yay!
Internet. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, Jeff. You didn't miss much. It was me and Adam not doing much. The 255 at York is up next, though, and on usual Saturday, this race would be one of the more pressing races, but this might just get lost amongst some very good action. It's the John Smith City Wall Stakes, a listed race over 5 furlongs, 14 runners here, and as Callum pointed out off air, there is no end of pace here. We've got Red Baron that's stepping up into listed company from Handicaps for the first time. Justice Day can go forward, Take Cover also going forward, and the return of Kotai Glory, who was a very good 2-year-old last season, and he actually ended by running in the Abbey when drawn pretty poorly, it has to be said. But off 279 days off, Kotai Glory would be an interesting one if he takes up the running. We're going to let Callum go first on this one, because this features a horse that both me and you have a huge soft spot for in Red Baron.
And me.
Yeah. I've had a look at this race, and I'm really not sure how it's going to pan out, because you think York is a front runner's track, so you think potentially it could be quite hard to make up any ground. But then you look at how much pace there is in the race. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You've got Step Up Point, Kotai Glory, Take Cover, even Canny Cool. I mean, they're all front runners, and all not just I want to be up there, I want to lead. And then Red Baron, who's quicker than all of them. So it could just be furiously run. If it is, then something like Outdo will pick up the pieces late on for me. He likes York. He obviously beat Red Baron in a handicap here in May. And obviously he's on a lot better terms in this race than what he was in that. But Red Baron's obviously a massive improver since then. I've got a real soft spot for Red Baron like you do, Luke, so I'd love to see him win. My heart potentially says that Step Up Point could bounce back here. I thought he ran a lot better at Sandown last week, a track that is quite a stiff 5 furlongs, and he needs as sharp a 5 furlongs as possible. Step Up Point is second in an Unthorpe, is the best form in the race. So I think he could potentially bounce back here. So around 10 to 1, I'd be quite interested in him. And Red Baron, I think, should run well. I don't really know what is going to happen in this race. And I'm going to be perfectly honest there. I really don't know what's going to happen.
I have to say, on a day that we have a Group 1, it's interesting that this is probably the race that I'm most looking forward to seeing. I'm going to be at York tomorrow, so I'm really looking forward to seeing this. Because like you, I have no idea what will happen. I really want Red Baron to win, because I love the horse. I think me and Adam actually were talking about Red Baron last time when he broke the track record at Musselburgh. On the show, we were tipping him up at about 4 to 1, 9 to 2. I think it was Phil Dinsdale that told us off for that.
Yeah.
And we said that he could be a much better horse. He's got a chance to prove it.
I could see Phil's point now. We thought he was value, but in the 16-runner handicap, I can understand why Phil was questioning it.
I get the point. It's
Yeah.
just another chance to prove that I was right, because I don't get that too much. Like when I do get it, I like to build on that. But as Callum mentioned, as Callum mentioned. As Callum mentioned, there is a lot of pace in this race. It could just fall into the lap of a hold-up horse, and it wouldn't surprise me if the old boy Kingsgate native, who has to give weight to the majority of the field, could just pick up the pieces late on. He's been in fantastic form recently. That win at Haydock 2 outings ago on ground that may have been on the soft side for him. He does like it lightning fast. The ground's be fine for him tomorrow, and he ran well enough behind Step Up Point, although last week at Sandown. Although Step Point did return to form in quite a big way. He was going from the front on that occasion. He did get hampered late on as well by Oisin Murphy on Windfire that saw a gap that nobody else saw, and I still don't see personally from a guy that backs Spirit Course. But if Step Up Point can build on that and take another step forward, then his form over the past season would put him there with a massive chance in a race like this. But as we've alluded to quite a few times, there is so much pace in this race, and we just have no idea what's going to go forward. Red Baron is lightning fast out of the starting stalls. If they want to try and rein him back and try and get him to sit in, that could completely throw him off. But if they want to let him go forward, then he might be forced to go too fast for the whole race. So it really is a tough race. I'd love to see Red Baron win it. If you're going for a hold-up horse, I'd like to see Kingsgate Native pick up the pieces. But it's probably going to be a no-bet race for me, even though there are a lot of horses in this race that I have got a lot of time for. It's just a fascinating renewal of the City Wall Stakes. A listed race on a day when we've got a Group 1 will take most of my attention for the day. Adam, how do you see this panning out?
You asked me how I see it panning out. Lots of front runners, and it could be for a closer. Kotai Glory, if I knew he was 100% ready, I think he could be good enough. I mean, he gets the weight as well from the older horses, and the speed he showed last season was just sensational. When he won, and I say won at Doncaster, he was going to win comfortably, and he got rid of George Baker. I was counting my winnings that day. I turned around, oh, he's won. No, he's not. Oh, there he goes. If he was ready, I think he'd be the one to beat. But if there's one for a closer, Speedhawk is one that in Maidan I felt so sorry for, because 6 furlongs was just too far for him. 5.5 would be perfect for him in Maidan. But I think the ground would be no concern for him, and he's been running well recently. He ran well at Haydock a couple of starts ago, and a fast 5 is really going to suit him well. And if I was to have a play in the race, it would only be a small play. I think Speedhawk, at an each way price of 16, I think he could go really well. But there's so many in the race that I consider that it is a no-bet race. There's a lot of chances in it. A really good race. I'd love to see Red Baron win. I don't think he will, but I'd see he'll go down fighting. That's for sure.
Yeah.
One
to mention, if it is going to go like your Speedhawk, Adam, I was going to say, his Line of Reason.
Yeah,
that's up for a hold-up horse, and potentially him.
Yeah.
It's just he's. Do you know, I would actually put him up if he didn't have a penalty. He got a £4 penalty for winning at Cork, a pretty rubbish listed race. He ran well. He ran well in a race that just didn't suit him at the Curragh last time. But he has won over course and distance, and he is improving. So I know you like him, Luke, as well. I think you've liked him.
Yeah, it's a horse that I've got. Again, another one in this race. I've got an awful lot. Sorry, I'll spit that out now. An awful lot of time for. He's just a consistent type. He's been in fantastic form in Ireland the last 2 runs. So again, he's another horse that comes here in really good form. It's just such a hard race to predict. Good luck if you find a winner.
Line of Reason won at this meeting last year. He won the 5 furlong handicap that was run today.
On the Friday.
So, yeah, good horse. I like Line of Reason a lot too. I think we tend to find that we all like the same horses as well. We seem to have the same sort of affection for them. So
yeah, he's my biggest winner last year. Just thought I'd put it out there. So.
Oh, I remember that. Good shout. Yeah, but anything could win this race, and I won't be surprised. Maybe Justice Say because he wants off the ground, but I like him as well. So it's a good race, really good race. I'm looking forward to it.
It's a fantastic race to look forward to. Definitely going to York tomorrow will be the race that I look forward to most, for sure. But we have another competitive handicap coming up next down at Newmarket for the 310, the Bet365 Bunbury Cup, a handicap over 7 furlongs, 20 runners this time, and a strongly backed favourite throughout this evening and probably tomorrow as well. We'll monitor the markets then. Is AR, who finished 9th in the Hunt Cup and was meant to be well laid out for that. He's been in good form though recently, Adam. AR dropping back to 7 furlongs. This could just suit him.
Yeah, it could suit him. I mean, in the Hunt Cup, I was really concerned he was drawn on the wrong side. It turns out he was drawn on the right side, but was too close to the pace throughout, and ultimately he faded to finish 9th. Conditions tomorrow really suit him. He's got fast ground, 7 furlongs, and he could get a similar ride to that, and he could prove to be too good. But the 2 I like are the 2 that I put up at York last month. Jalotta finally got his first win since his maiden, and he really battled hard that day, and the ground is perfect for him tomorrow. And he looks the type of horse that could potentially go on from that. He may have gained some confidence from that win, and I think he's a fair price. The other one I do like, obviously, is Heaven's Guest. He's 2 from 2 at the track, and won this race a year ago when I decided to go on Absolutely So, and he came and mugged him on the line. So that was a painful one, especially for me, because not only had I backed Absolutely So, my Cliff horse came and beat him, and he's been in good form this year. He didn't run particularly well last time out of York, but I can see him bouncing back here with Jack Garrity's Claim. I will mention Unforgiving Minute. I think he's a synthetics horse. I don't think turf is what he wants, and I know he's been price-wise as well. Bronze Angel, I think it's all towards the Cambridgeshire for him, and I think 7 furlongs, it'll be a bit sharp for him. And it'll be interesting to see who Chill the Kite gets the jockey booking, because Ryan Moore was booked, and obviously he's not riding now. So I'm going to go with Jalotta and Heaven's Guest, with the preference being for Jalotta.
I remember Jalotta winning last time. I think you actually tipped him up on this video as well.
Yeah, but I tipped the pair of them together, and I'm going to go with them again, because I think both of them have got similar chances. Which are good.
Fair enough. I have had a horrible time looking through this race, and I've come up with one that's a very tentative each way selection. This is a complete no-bet race for me at all. But Susie's Connoisseur is one that went way too fast in the Wokingham. The hood's been taken off of Susie's Connoisseur this time around, but was a good 8th in the Victoria Cup. That was over 7 furlongs, which is probably his preferred trip. He was 8th of 26 that day, beat only 5 lengths by speculative bids. So on the whole, that wasn't the worst of runs. He seems to be a horse that's just beginning to drop down the handicap anyway. I say that is only a pound below his highest rating, when 8th in the Victoria Cup. But stepping back to 7 furlongs, that could just help him out a great deal tomorrow. He seemed, as mentioned, he just went off way too fast. He may have been a pacemaker for Gameson, who was laid out for that particular event. It'd be interesting to see how he goes tomorrow. And Pat Smullen is a very interesting jockey booking. He hasn't been in the best of form, but two bad runs sandwiched a good run in the Victoria Cup. So it'll be interesting to see how he does go tomorrow. But literally, that is all that I could come up with for the Bunbury Cup. It's not really a race that I like too much this time around. AR, probably a deserving favourite, but at that price, I couldn't be taking AR in this kind of race. So I would say a small each way bet on Susie's Connoisseur if you have to, but it's a race that I'm definitely going to be leaving alone. And Callum, I've cut down my talking time so you can have more about this wonderful, wonderful race.
You nicked my tip.
What?
Hey, Susie's Connoisseur is the one the pin has dropped on. It's a weird race, the Bunbury Cup this year, because you look at the three at the head of the betting. Certainly, Bronze Angel, Chill the Kite. I don't think either of them. I think both of them are handicapped to the hill still, and I certainly think AR's got to improve off that mark of 102 still. For all his Newbury win was impressive. The drop to 7 furlong, he finally ran a good race at Ascot. It's not a horse I want to be taking 6-1 on in a big field like that, considering I don't think he's totally thrown in, which I'd want in a race like this. If you're going to back a horse that's virtually, half the price of anything else in the field bar one, Unforgiven Minute could be that horse. He looked a group horse on the All Weather, with he's 4 from 4 at Kempton. His 2 turf runs were pretty poor. If he's going to take the turf, it would be on fast ground like this. It's just a worry for me. He's either going to win and win well, or absolutely bomb out, and I'm not sure which one it will be, and I'm probably edging towards bombing out at this stage. But yeah, Susie's Connoisseur always runs well at this track. I'm just looking at his form. I always think it's a filly.
Oh, there we go. I was close to making that mistake. Always close.
Always think it's a filly.
It's the name. I agree. I'm sure I've called Susie's Connoisseur a she in the past, and then you check and you're like, oh.
Anyway, it has it's run 5 times. At the July course, actually, I'm trying to work out. It ran twice last year, finishing 5th in that 3-year-old handicap at this meeting. Finished 3rd behind Fast Track over 6 furlongs. And the East of Impact race would have been at this course as well. So it's been beaten less than 4 lengths in its last 3 starts at this track. It's off a similar mark tomorrow. It didn't go up for its win at Leicester on heavy ground in October. It's not been long with Stuart Williams. It's had 3 softly races. I think the jockey booking is really eye-catching tomorrow. With Pat Smullen going on, I think it's a massive bonus because he's such a good rider. Getting horses like this to win, really. The headgear's off tomorrow. I'll be interested to see how that pans out. Can be ridden in any sort of way. He really strikes to me as a potential winner of this race. For all, I don't think it will probably take that much winning. There's one at a price I think is worth keeping an eye on. He's got 3 duck eggs to his name this year. Highland Acclaim. He's just a horse I'm going to keep having 250 each way on every time he runs, because I know at one point he's going to pop up a 40-1, because he's just that kind of horse. He's a very highly strung sort, but he was most progressive last year. He's taken a while to come down in the handicap. He's only gone down a pound this season, so he might need a bit more time, but he's a potential one to keep an eye on. I don't think it's a great race overall, and Susie's Connoisseur, I think, has the potential to be a good bet at 16-1.
Yeah, a very, very intriguing race. And the handicaps don't get much easier now with the next race. And the second to last race that we'll be covering at this evening, anyway, for the Channel 4 action tomorrow, the 3:25 at York, the 56th running of the John Smith's Cup, a handicap over a mile, 2 furlongs and 88 yards. 20 runners to make our way through here, Adam. And the favourite isn't Lightning Spear.
Just before we go on to the John Smith's Cup, isn't it great that the Bunbury Cup has its name back?
I prefer the last year's name, to be honest.
32 red.
Yeah,
it's
fair
brilliant
point.
that the Bunbury Cup's name is back. Anyway, this is a really, really good race. This is for me, one of the races of the day, a real competitive handicap, and you could put your pin in 4 or 5 of these and not even get in the places. But the 3 for my shortlist, there's plenty that could go on it. Arab Dawn, I don't think wants to come back in trip. I think a mile and a half is his trip. Mount Logan, I also think wants a mile and a half, so I'd rather him be running over further. First Flight is a horse I do like, but he doesn't make the shortlist. I just ummed and ahed about him, and I think his price is short enough. The 3 that are on the shortlist, the likely winner for me is a horse that the other week, when we had an Epsom handicap, and with the same 3 Mark Johnson horses, and Callum put up Master of Finance, and I was against him. I'm actually with him today. I think he's drawn well in 16, and he hasn't been running badly this season, and I just think this is a sort of handicap that he could pop up in. The other Johnston runners, I'm not with Sinokian Star, just because I think he could be potentially one that wouldn't exactly run a race tomorrow and then pop up again at Goodwood. Firefighting, I can't have out the frame. He's just so consistent, and even off 110, I can see him running really well here. And the other one that I'm going to give a mention to is Balti Boy, so I think 10 furlongs will really suit him. He tried 12 furlongs in listed company, but I don't think was ridden exactly well that day. And he ran really well in the Hunt Cup, where he clearly won his race on the near side. He was just drawn on the wrong side. And these new hold-up tactics, I think, have really worked the oracle with him. And I can see him going really well tomorrow. So the 3 I'm going to throw up, I'm going to say Firefighting will be definitely in the places. Balti Boys, I think, will run really well. And the one I'm going to go with as a win bet, I'd say, is Master of Finance.
Yeah, it is that kind of race where you could just have a few and still be horrifically wrong.
Yeah.
Which is tempting fate somewhat.
Yeah.
A few that I quite like. I was very late to the Adjman Bridge, Adam Kirby dropping his whip at Royal Ascot Party. I found that out about an hour ago when watching the replay, and thought I might have seen something that was quite new and exciting, but it seems that everyone and their dog knew about that. So yeah. Adjman Bridge behind Arab Dawn on that occasion was inconvenienced by that. Whether it cost him the race, I'm not 100% sure. It would have been a bit closer. But Arab Dawn has a £5 penalty, and as Adam mentioned, the trip may be a bit of a worry. But at York, which they will be racing a long way from home with that long straight, it may play more into his hands where it would at maybe a track more like Ascot with a shorter straight. I wanted to mention Master Carpenter as well, who ran a really good race over a mile behind Bassam last week. He does need a little bit softer ground, so if any of that rain does come, that Callum's weather forecast says, instead of my weather forecast.
Weather forecast.
If any of that rain does come, then he would be interesting. But saying that, he did run a really good race on fast ground last week at Sandown at 18-1. I think that's a big enough price for Master Carpenter. A horse that's clearly very well in himself at the moment, and stepping up 2 furlongs will help him nonetheless. I think Mark 104 still isn't badly handicapped for him. I just want a price that could go well, but it's going to be a day of cliff horses for Luke tomorrow. First Flight, I think, is interesting. He's got cheek pieces on. I've left him the last time. I backed him at York 2 outings ago when he was behind Marsuve, and he ran a really good race on that day. But I just think he's a little bit of he's getting a little bit of a attitude problem, we'll say. He's got cheek pieces on first time, though, which could just fix that tomorrow. I've heard a few people say he may not see 10 furlongs out as well as he maybe would perform over a mile. I don't really I disagree with that, quite frankly. In the Wolverton, he ran a fantastic race, albeit he got hampered late on. I don't think James Doyle ever had to stop riding on that occasion, but it wasn't anything that would go in his favour nonetheless. 10-1, I think, is a really good price for that First Flight. If those cheap pieces do work first time, then this could be the kind of race that he finally wins. And Mark 102, I'm still certain he's better than that. However, I have been saying that since probably his debut as well, actually, when I backed him for the Guineas. So that's my...
Luke, what race did he run in after that? After his maiden, what did he run in after that?
He ran the Acomb.
I thought it was the Akumi he ran in.
No, who calls it the Akumi? The First Flight, my thought of a winner, I'd give Master Carpenter a go each way, around 20-1. I think he's a horse in very good form. Any rain would be a huge positive for Master Carpenter. Callum, John Smith's Cup, go.
First point I want to make, and I think it's really important, is the draw. Because high draws do extremely well in this race. Last 6 winners of this race have been drawn 16, 13, 17, 19, 16 and 22. So I think having a high draw, I think, is possibly even paramount tomorrow. So that's my first port of call for looking at the winner. I've got it down to 3 personally. I think there's a lot of the head of the market have got clear chances. Aravdon, I do agree. I think the drop in triple is against the Kumani pair in the whoever colours it is, the Mohammed Abaid Al Maktoum.
Yeah.
I think they've got clear chances for all. I don't think either of them are fully straightforward. Ajman Bridge, yeah, Kirby dropped the whip last time and he probably should have won because of it, but he's got a lot of seconds to his name and he is a horse that I think really puts it in. Johnston horses, last week I back notarized on the basis that Johnston horses just seem to improve out of nowhere. If you're going to oppose a Mark Johnston horse and the fact you think it's poorly handicapped, never do it, because he can just find improvement from nowhere. And Master of Finance is that kind of horse. He's been running good races in strong handicaps. His second to Marsu is extremely good form. A third at Epsom and his last run at Chester. They're really, really solid runs. He loves the fast ground. Johnson at York has never always really been a great angle, but this year he's had a really good season at York, so it wouldn't really worry me. And so I think 20 to 1's a really good price on him. The other 2, I think, both ran in that Marsub race, both drawn high. Voice of a Leader, I think, is extremely interesting. Reminds me a lot of that Chapel Hine horse that won this a few years back, King's Warrior, who was another lightly raced horse that potentially has just been plotted out for this race. So I can certainly see the angle there. And First Flight, who I'm not quite sure does he put it all in? I'm not quite.
That's
sure.
what I'm thinking. That's why I'm really for him tomorrow, because he's got cheek pieces.
Yeah, that could help
for the first time.
I mean, I'm reading the spotlight here, and the only negative you can find is the wide draw, and that's a positive for me. So, in theory, he should be a really good bet. If another horse at Collaborations, another drawn 19, I liked him a lot before his Ascot run. He was very keen that day, and the ground was too fast, but it might be too fast for him tomorrow.
Collaboration. I thought it was the slow pace it did for him at Ascot. They did go slow, and he was too keen because of it.
He's very keen, yeah. If he bounced back, then I think he's got a good chance. I do know they've got worries about the ground with him, though. I think he does need a bit of cut, and I'm not quite sure on him. There's a lot to consider, but my shortlist of 3, and I'll certainly back Master of Finance and First Flight. They're 2 of them, and Voice of Leader's the other one. But I'll certainly back those first 2. I think Master of Finance is a cracking each way bet, and First Flight I'll probably back to win.
It's a fantastic card up at York tomorrow. If you can, do get racing there and say hi to me. If you can't, then you can get to Newmarket and say hi to Callum, where we've got our final race of the day that we're going to be covering. Apologies for the video going on so long, but we have got so much racing that is very, very good, and we do want to talk about it, which I'm sure you can appreciate more than most. The 3:45 at Newmarket, though, is the last race of the day, the Darley July Cup, a Group 1 over 6 furlongs. 15 horses go to post here, and Callum, this race last year was won by the immortal Slade Power.
Have you got the board?
Wow, what a horse. Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
Have we got the board?
Right here.
yes.
Next to the Miss France one now.
It's France. Oh,
Slade
there.
Power.
Edals is what it says on the screen. So.
We were talking a bit earlier on in the week, and we've gone from one power to another. Soul Power, who didn't show his best last time. He did win the Alport Sprint over in Maidan. 6 furlongs. It could just be that he maybe is losing a little bit of that zip that he has had, which in my mind I do think is a bit harsh. I'm not overly agreeing with that. But at 6 furlongs, he's never been at his best. However, we were mentioning 16 to 1. If Soul Power were to do anything at that price, Callum, you'd feel a bit silly for not having anything on him.
No, never said that.
We had this conversation earlier on this week.
Yeah, but I didn't agree with you.
You were the one that brought the point up.
Did I?
Yeah.
I highly doubt that. I've never
No,
thought
you
he's a
were.
bet in this race. No, I never said that.
You definitely did.
I didn't. I didn't. You said it.
Your
But it's not
words
domestic,
were soul
global,
power at 20
national
to 1 is a
TV.
big price.
Oh yeah, I said, yeah, but that's misinterpreting my words. In that, yeah, I won't go in there. Look, I don't think he wins tomorrow. I know he doesn't win tomorrow. I don't know. I back Brazen Bow any post, and yeah, the Aussies have never won this race before. But look, I think he's a smashing horse. I think he might actually come on for that Diamond Jubilee run, as often Chris Waller's horses do actually in Australia. So I think he's just about the one to beat, but Mahara could be very good. He was very impressive in the Commonwealth Cup. They're the two to concentrate on, and it's a pretty obvious race. It's a sprint at the end of the day, so something is going to potentially. I don't really know what it's going to be. I know you're going to go for G-Force. Can fully understand why. If it is Ascot that he doesn't like, fair enough. He should have been running in over 6 furlongs, but they were absolute idiots and decided not to. I don't know. Anthem Alexander wants 5. So does Soul Power. Muthmere, the track's a potential worry for him. Undulating track, considering all his best form's been on much flatter tracks, but he's got the class to be involved. Trained by William. I'm going to run this horse over 5 furlong all season. Haggis, and now running over 6. So, what else do we think? Danzino, Astaire, Jack Dempster.
Anthem Alexander?
I mentioned Anthem Alexander. I just think she wants 5. Really desperately wants 5 furlongs. And I think this is a stepping stone to something like the Nunthorpe, where she chases home that American monster, probably. Tropics, potentially. Maybe wants a bit more ease of the ground. I don't know. It's a sprint. You never know. I back Brazen Bow anti-post, and I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to say nothing else.
It is a very intriguing race. We've got Brazen Bow for Australia taking on Muhara, who was so impressive in the Commonwealth Cup. For me, I'd like to see Muhara do it again. I was a bit shocked by Muhara winning full stop. I spoke to Dane O'Neill after he won the Commonwealth Cup, and he said he wasn't surprised he won. He really fancied him, but the manner in which he did it, he was pretty shocked with. Callum alluded to G-Force not liking Ascot. I spoke to Dave O'Mara as well after the King's Stand and asked him if he's going to be running again on Saturday in the Diamond Jubilee, which is the race that he should have run in anyway. Let's not point that out. He should have really been in that race completely. I don't know why they went over 5 in the King's Stand. There was no benefit to that whatsoever. Let's move on from that fact. But Dave O'Mara did just say there's something about Ascot that he absolutely hates. He ran a poor race on Champions Day in the sprint there. He ran awfully in the King's Stand. I think it's just best to put those performances behind him. He is a much, much better horse at 6 furlongs, and he didn't run too badly in the Temple. He got hampered late on when coming through with his run. He wouldn't have run one on that occasion, but he was having to concede weight to a great number of the field. I do think he's in decent enough form. It's not as if he's regressed from last year. And over 6 furlongs, he's a completely different proposition than he is over 5. Over 5, he's probably a Group 3, Group 2 sprinter. Over 6 furlongs, he's a genuine Group 1 sprinter. Now, for a race where 3rd place is up for grabs, at the very least anyway, he would be my answer to that at 14 to 1. I think that's got some pretty good each way value about him. For win purposes, I do think Brazen Bow is the most likely winner. Now running in the Godolphin Blue, obviously, for Chris Waller. He ran a huge race in the Diamond Jubilee, went on the opposite side to Undrafted, who in his own right is a very good horse. Craig Williams walked the track on that occasion. He picked out the best ground for him. And a few people slated Craig Williams for that. What's he meant to do? Is he meant to go over to the far side and sacrifice a lot of ground early on? I don't agree with that at all. I thought he gave him a fine ride at Ascot, and I do think Brazen Bow is the one to beat tomorrow. I'm still not convinced about Mahara. As mentioned, I would like to see him do it again. That could be me being a little bit harsh on him, but he was very impressive at Ascot. You can't rule him out whatsoever. The bet in the race for me would be G-Force each way. I backed him at 16 to 1 earlier on in the week. Joseph O'Brien taking the ride, I don't mind it that much personally. We could have a lot of worse alternatives tomorrow. He is a jockey, Adam. Don't pull that face. He is a jockey that I am coming round to liking a bit more. Joseph O'Brien, I have to say. But at 14 to 1, G-Force would be the each way bet in the race for me. Brazen Bow the one to beat though. Adam, I'm going to assume that you don't agree with G-Force whatsoever.
No. Well, before Royal Ascot, for my birthday present, you put a patent. Was it patent together? You put Want the Force, Gamesome, and G-Force and the Diamond Jubilee in, and I only agreed with one of them. G-Force just ran no race at all in the King's Stand. He was the first beaten, and the excuse I thought on Champions Day was that the ground was too soft, and I can accept that, but just ran no race whatsoever in the King's Stand, and there was nothing that seems to be explained about that. I personally don't think he is good enough. I don't think he is a genuine Group 1 sprinter. Well, if he wins tomorrow, you can go and prove me wrong, but I just don't think he is. Other horses that I don't really consider for tomorrow, and from Alexander, I fully agree with both of you. Wants 5, Soul Power likewise. I do remember a couple of years ago thinking that 10-1 after he won the King's Stand was value for this race, and I backed him accordingly, and he finished 5th. So I'm not falling into the same trap again. Other one I really don't like, Dan Zeno. How he's rated 115, I really don't know. Considering you've got sprinters around him that are only rated 2-3 pounds higher, I don't get that. And if they were running in if they were going to run in the handicap, I wouldn't want Dan Zeno getting as little as £3 from them. I'd be wanting him to get more. My idea of the winner, I want all over Brazen Bow here. Muhara was impressive at Royal Ascot, but they've got concerns about him. Will he progress? Well, he'll progress from it, but the worry they had was another run on fast ground, because there's quite a few horses coming out of Royal Ascot, and they are bouncing because potentially the ground was too fast. I'm not complaining that the ground was too fast, but trainers are saying that horses are coming out and they're not running as well because they're bottomed out after a run at Royal Ascot. So you can have the worry for the both of them, but I just think Brazen Bow. There was a photograph of a gallop he did at Newmarket with James Doyle, a perfect booking for him, and he just looked a bit of a monster, basically. The ride last time out, I've got no complaints about. Craig Williams knew what he was doing, and if he'd won, we'd all be lauding, saying it's one of the best, a great ride. Just because he got beat, it was a poor ride, so it's one of those. You take the risk. If it works, you're a genius. If you don't work, you're not a genius. I will mention Muthmere. I'm pleased he's at 6 furlongs. I think 6 furlongs is his trip. The slight concern is the track, but it's not like Goodwood. Goodwood, for him, literally running down a hill, he just couldn't handle it. And for him to run as well as he did in the Stewards' Cup last year is testament to the horse. I can see him going well, and if one of the front two disappoint, I see him picking up the pieces. Brazen Bow's my idea of the winner. I will put Muthmere up each way as well, because I really do like Muthmere. So,
yeah, good to see us all agreeing with the Australian sprinter. Brazen Bow on a day that hopefully the Australians will go 1-0 down in the Ashes. That is it for races to cover on Channel 4 tomorrow. That ended with the July Cup, obviously. We have got a select handful of questions in tonight. You can still send them in to at On The Other Hoof on Twitter, and we read them out right now. If you want to send a question or a fancy in, it's perfectly fine. The first question, as always, comes in from Kai Wills. However, Muhara in the July Cup, boys, looks a machine and will put that Aussie in its place. Wow, that could not have been a worse timed question.
he still gets to wait, though. That's something to consider.
Gets weight, yeah. Like I say, I just want him to do it again before I can fully sign up to him being that good.
Yeah, if he does it tomorrow, fair enough. Really is.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Rock solid.
Yeah, exactly. We're all with Brazen Bow and with Brazen Bow for a reason as well. If Muhara does it tomorrow, as Callum said, then fair enough. Respect where it's due for all that he was very impressive at Royal Ascot in the Commonwealth Cup. Callum, a question for you now from Private Sean. Arod and Trip, 8 furlongs, 10 furlongs in between. Could he be a Dubai turf horse?
Yeah, I think he could be an ideal Dubai turf horse. I think 8 and 10 is around his trip. I think he's worth another go at 10 furlongs, but I think a mile on a stiff track is perfect for him. So I've made my point in him. I think he's got a great chance tomorrow. I think he'll take a lot of beating.
Yeah, it won't be the last time we'll hear of that name in this show. Max Banner, Muthmere in brackets, gets 6 this time, and Anthem Alexander rarely runs a bad race, value against the top 2. Me and Callum, and Adam as well for that matter, we all agree that we'd love to see Anthem Alexander back over 5 furlongs. Yeah. I think she's a horse that's got such a high cruising speed. Over 6, she doesn't get to utilise that as much as she would over 5. Saying that, she is still a very good horse over 6. I would just like to see her run in something like an Unthorpe. I know you two guys agree as well.
Yeah, we've been waiting since the Queen Mary. When she won the Queen Mary, I thought, there's your next 5 furlong sprinter. Potentially your next sole power for Eddie Lynham. And she'll keep going. So next year's King's Stand, hopefully. Then we can...
Worth noting about the July Cup, by the way, is crap each way terms. I'm just looking now. Most bookies are going 5th. And I can understand why, because you got 2 really strong favourites and there's 12 to 1 the rest. So there's going to be some each way thieves out there. I think Paddy are going 4 places but going 5th in the odds. So I don't know what you want to bet. But Bet365, Boyles, Stan James, Ladbrokes, Hills are doing a quarter of the odds.
Yeah. They're also Bet365 are doing quarter the odds on the Summer Mile, and most of them are doing 50 odds. I noticed earlier. So fair play Bet365.
Yeah. Doesn't affect me because I have backed G-Force anti-post. Good. Right, nap time, gentlemen.
I've got some questions.
Okay.
I got them on Facebook. And it's from mega fan Hattie Fuller. First of all, she asked...
Whoa. Sorry. Hattie knows protocol with On the Other Hoof.
Yeah,
she knows
she can get her questions answered if she doesn't tweet the show.
What?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I say. I don't say DM Adam. I say
no, it was
tweet the show.
Yeah,
That makes it even worse. It's Facebook, it's not even Twitter.
KJ's got to ask a question, but unfortunately, poor old KJ has been blocked for copyright reasons.
Now that I get, that's fine.
Yeah, I can understand.
KJ asking questions like that because he's got no way on Twitter. So that's KJ's question. We won't have Hattie's question.
Oh, KJ's not asked his question yet. He's still typing. I will ask Cassie then. She asked us to discuss Monsieur Joe and firefighting. And I like firefighting tomorrow. I think he'll be definitely in the frame. Monsieur Joe's a closer in that race. But we mentioned Line of Reason as well. And that's just a cracking race.
So, regarding firefighting, Callum, I just want to check in with you. How many runs is here so far?
27th?
27th.
No, 28th, yeah.
I lose count.
So consistent. She also asked, can Birchwood's last run be forgotten? I think, yeah. He just stopped quickly, and he's worth forgiving, but I don't think he'll be good enough tomorrow. She then gives us a statement of Bronze Angel to finally come good, not tomorrow, wait till the Cambridgeshire to get your money on. And then she states that she doesn't really rate Ali Doyle, the horse, not the setup, the horse. She should be winning that maiden. That's second session. You'd hope she'd be winning it, so...
That's harsh. I think she's a horse that's going to improve.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure, but fair enough. If that's how she sees it. Have we got KJ's question in yet?
No.
Too late. Right, nap time. Callum, I think we already know your nap.
Yeah. You did. Arod.
Say it anyway.
Arod.
No, I'm not going to say it. I am going to Ascot for my nap in the last race, which is called the Playboy Club London something handicap. A horse that I put up in the horses. The what?
That's where you'll be going if it wins. So
yeah, Playboy Club London Handicap. That's it. That's the exact name. It's a horse that I put up in the horses to follow list. A horse called the Heisman for Ollie Stevens, and again Qatar Racing. Who could have a very good day tomorrow. He's finally been up to a mile and 2, which is going to be his optimum trip. He ran really well last time. He's still very unexposed. That was only his 5th run. He's having his 6th tomorrow, but that was behind Jacob Black in a race that's spat out quite a few winners from in behind. He had to come wide the whole way, finishing quite strongly over a mile down the outside, and he will improve for that run. That was his seasonal reappearance. He will be much better for that outing, and I'd be disappointed really if he wasn't winning the last tomorrow. He's a horse that I hold in very high esteem, and off a mark of 89, I'd be disappointed if he wasn't winning the last at Ascot. So Heisman is my nap. Adam.
My nap tomorrow, and I've ummed and ahed. I'm going to go with Master of Finance and the John Smith's Pub. I'm not going to make it easy. What? I'm not going for another Qatar horse, because there's no other Qatar horse I like.
It'd have been neat and tidy.
Yeah. KJ did get his question in, and it's a very quick one. It's for you, Luke. Is 5 furlongs likely to improve Gamesome?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I do. I do think that 5 furlongs will be the making of him. I should mention as well one quick point. In the last race, in Heisman's race, good luck to Duncan England, who I met at Sandown. I think he has a share in Squire. He watches this show sometimes. So if you are watching tonight, good luck with Squire. Not too much luck, because I really would appreciate it if Heisman could win tomorrow, but it's been a fantastic horse for you this season. Best of luck with Squire for the Michael Atwater yard. Again, a horse has been in fantastic form since joining the yard. That is about it for tonight, guys. I say that's about it. It's been a long show. It's been some fantastic racing on for tomorrow as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we've also been treated to some really good racing the last 2 days. I'll say this very quickly. Lumiere's debut at Newmarket was just nothing but sensational. Wow. That's all I can say about that. Seriously good performance.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be the last that we hear of her. Albeit, her dam did do the exact same thing and then didn't do a great deal afterwards.
Yeah.
Callum, Newmarket tomorrow, aren't you?
I am.
I'm at York tomorrow. Adam is nowhere tomorrow.
My house.
If you do see myself or Callum Liddell on a racecourse, do come up and say hello. It's great when we get to meet you guys. But until next week here on The Other Hoof, enjoy tomorrow's racing. It's absolutely fantastic. Group 1 action, Group 2 action, listed action, handicap action, a little bit for everybody from York, Ascot, and of course from Newmarket. Until next week here on The Other Hoof, have a great week. Goodbye.